Hey guys, so it's beanie season. It's freaking cold. It's crap outside. It's like went from 70 degrees to 30 degrees in the span of like 2 days. So like it's been kind of a shock to the system. So the beanie is here to stay for a while. So get used to it. But to get to the point of this video, I wanted to talk about a really important tool that people should learn how to develop with their training, and that's dealing with bad training sessions, because it's something that happens to everybody. Like, we're going to all have days where we do come into the gym and we just don't have the same, like, the expected level of performance that we wanted to have. Weight feels heavy, the session didn't go very well, maybe you missed a lift that you wanted to hit in training, or just wasn't there on that day. This is something I want to discuss about with two main ways that I do deal with this, and both of them have to do with reframing a situation. And so what this concept of reframing is referring to is adjusting your expectations and the circumstance to have a different perspective. And this is really important because I found with a lot of successful athletes, they have a very good adaptability to this situation. They have the ability to adjust on the fly and make the best of their circumstances. Because I'm reading a book right now about sports psychology, and a very interesting statistic popped up where basically 70% of our self-thoughts or internal beliefs are negative. And this is really detrimental for most people, and I found a lot of athletes have a very good job of hyping themselves up and basically, for lack of a better term, telling themselves like, yeah, I am the shit, like I am good, like I am strong, like I am like whatever. Like, having these positive affirmations can really help you with reframing situations and having this adaptability. So first off, understand that this is why your training program should include RPE, some internal metric that's just not focused on external metrics. Like, I need to have a bar, like have the weight go up every single session, or I need to hit this number. Because kind of like what I talked about in my last video, for one, you can't force progressive overload. If you guys want to look at that, like I'll pop up in the cards right here. But progressive overload is not something that you can force. It is something that happens because of previous training, and it's highly dependent upon how fatigued you are, and like whether or not the stimulus was enough, whether or not adaptations are still occurring, different things like that. So training with RPE basically ensures that you are training with appropriate amount of relative effort to trigger a stimulus, because it accounts for these variabilities in performance based off of the fatigue fitness model. Think about your fatigue and fitness on like basically your potential strength versus your actual strength. So let's say you have really low fatigue and your fitness is really high. That means that you are probably going to be very strong on that day. And maybe you slept well, and maybe you just tapered for a competition after overreaching. For fatigue is very low, but fitness is very high. You're going to have a great session. You're going to feel strong. You're not going to feel beat up. Maybe one day you come into the gym, you haven't ate as much, you're deep in a deficit, and that is masking your ability to perform because you just don't have the energy availability. If you've had a fight with somebody, pandemics going on, crazy things are happening in your life, and for whatever reason, fatigue is higher than you expected it to be on one day, and your fitness is lower, and this is going to impact your performance on that day. So RPE accounts for these fluctuations, and it's a really amazing metric to use because it basically reinforces the fact that your body only knows tension and stimulus. A really good way to conceptualize this is if you're already fatigued, your efforts should basically match that fatigue. And so if you already are coming in with higher levels of fatigue, your RPE 7 with external lows, you're probably going to have to lower down that weight. But because you're training with appropriate levels of relative effort, you will still be training with enough, stimulus to actually maintain or trigger adaptations and not lose fitness and probably get better. So First off, understand that if the weight is not there on one day, if you have to lower down weight to hit your RPE, that's okay because of this next point. Stop thinking about your progress in terms of session to session, and think about it more in a macro scale of a macro cycle, a mesocycle to mesocycle length. Because if you're constantly expecting progress to just be like this, one, that's just a poor expectation. That's not how training works. It's really fluctuation. It's going to just have like these undulations throughout it. As long as the overall trend is going up, that's what we care about. So there are no bad days. There are bad training cycles. There are bad programs. There are bad ways to manage fatigue and, you know, program long-term for long-term progress. But you should always be looking at your progress not in a microscopic scale of, oh shit, I didn't hit this lift on one day, okay, therefore I had like a bad program or whatever. Like, don't catastrophize your situation and be logical, take a step back, hit the RPEs, stick to the plan, and then look over the long term and see how did my body respond to the stimulus. Do I need to make changes? And then make your decisions off of that. Because if you're over catastrophizing a situation, you're not going to be able to manage your fatigue any better for that. Like, for one, that's going to make the situation even worse. But also realizing, like, look, this happens. This is just a part of the training process, and embracing it. Understanding on some days I'm not going to feel as strong. On some days I'm not going to, you know, hit the weights I want to. Some days the weights are going to feel heavier. Some days I'm going to feel tired. I'm going to feel beat up. I'm going to feel run down. But also understand that as long as you're trusting the plan, as long as you're trying your best and your hardest fundamentally, you can't mess this up. As you know, like, as long as you're putting in perfect balance of relative effort, and, you know, then you can look over and look back retrospectively on what worked and what didn't work, and then what you need, changes that you need to make going forward. So, two main key points with reframing bad training sessions. One, training with an RPE. Understand that RPE is there to ensure not that you're training too easy, but that you're training hard enough for adaptations to happen, and it accounts for these other variabilities and fatigue. Two, stop looking at training and thinking that has to be session to session linear increases. Understand that undulations and pulsatility will happen, and that's why you train with RPE. Look at the trends over time. Understand that progress happens over months and not just training sessions. It's multiple training sessions that creates a wave of progress and momentum that creates really big, drastic long-term results, not any one training session. So those are my two main tips for how to deal with bad training sessions. Just reframe the situation, make sure that you're using those metrics, and just remind yourself that progress happens over months and years and not weeks. So yeah, hopefully this video was helpful. If you guys did like it, make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow me on Instagram if you guys are interested in coaching or programs. Links down below, or go to adampeelerfitness.com. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Hope you guys are all doing safe and are healthy right now. Anyways, catch you guys in the next one.